Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live webinar. Today, we are going to be discussing inclusive education, and we have a very special guest here today. His name is Teacher Chike, and he will be taking us on this topic, inclusive education. It is such a privilege to have him here. We are so grateful. Thank you for honoring our invite. And please, can you kindly tell us about yourself?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Joanne, I want to say a big thank you first of all to Learnxplore for this opportunity. And about myself, the name Teacher Chike is not just the brand name. I'm Teacher Chike because my name is Chike Emmanuel, the full name, and I'm a teacher, which makes me Teacher Chike. And I'm actually, I have been in the classroom from post NYSC 7 years. And before then, a total of 10 years before NYC and the. So we've been in the classroom for a long time. And we've had this passion and desire. I went to University of Benin to study, the desire to study medicine and surgery, but they gave me, as you always do say, when you're a student and you don't get what you wanted to get, you say they gave you. So they gave me education biology. So after giving me education biology, I continued. I said, okay, after 1 year, I'll write again. I wrote again, and they gave me fisheries. So it was in my 300 level that I said, okay, let me just go for teaching practice and see how it is. But at 300 level, I was still planning to write the third jam. And on going for teaching practice, I found my passion there. I saw that this is where I want to be. I stayed with the students. I enjoyed every moment, and I'd be like, okay, this is what I want to do for my life. And coupled with several spiritual confirmations, though, so I continued in teaching, and I've not had an opportunity to turn back, or I've never gotten to the point whereby I would be like, maybe let me try something else. It has always been teaching. And it will be teaching. Though we might still advance in some area, but yet everything is still boiled down to this teaching aspect, because I have ambition. And one of my vision is that by the grace of God, I would be someday I'm aspiring to become the Minister of Education of Nigeria. Someday.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I pray that comes to pass. And we'll be there.
Amen. So Amen. So now concerning the topic.
Yes, inclusive education.
Yeah. So concerning the topic inclusive education, I would first of all just say something. Okay, yeah. My introduction, a little bit. I served in Ebonyi State, Abakaliki to be precise, and I was the president of the largest CDS in Ebonyi State, that is Education Development Group. And our work was to sensitize, because they have this mass literacy center, so across the state. So our work was to sensitize the adults on the need for education, for them to go to have their formal education. It was like evening school. So we go out, sensitize. And our slogan for that group was education for all. So when I say EDG, everybody will say education for all. And that particular education for all is what inclusive education is all about. Education for all, irrespective of your sex, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your origin, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your color. Education for all, irrespective of your abilities or inabilities. Education for all. But according to a UNESCO 2022, a report by UNESCO 2022, this report stated, it was cited by Guardian newspaper. It stated that 20 million Nigerian individuals of approximately 200 population are not enrolled in school. That means 10% of our population, or 20% of Nigeria's entire population, that's supposed to be in school are not enrolled in school. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. And this set of persons that should be in school, they are not in school for different reasons. Yeah. Some of them might be because of disabilities. Some of them might be because of their gender. Some of them might be because of the economics. There is a need for inclusive education, whereby education can be for all. Education for all. And that will now bring me down to the topic, or down to one of my objectives for today, because I have several objectives. The first objective is the definition or the what of inclusive education.
Yeah.
The second one is, are you with me?
Yeah, I am.
Yes. Then after that, we have the strategies of inclusive education. Then after that, we have the importance of inclusive education. And the fourth objective for today is to tell us about how to implement inclusive education. Now, from the first one, definition, or what is inclusive education? Inclusive education, as I've said, is education for all, irrespective of whatever ability or disability you have, education for all, and everyone having the opportunity to sit down in the same classroom to learn, irrespective of whatever orientation you have. We can sit down together in the same classroom and learn. That is inclusive education. And the aim of inclusive education is to ensure that students are treated fairly and they get equal opportunities. They are treated fairly, whether you are physically challenged, whether you are a special child, whether you have one or two issues that has to do with economic, financial, whatever, and the rest. Everybody, we are all treated equally and fairly. That is inclusive education. And now there are three barriers I've been able to pick out in Nigeria. Three barriers out of many. I picked out three that I feel okay, I'll discuss about. Three barriers that I feel that have increased the level of students that have not been in school. Three major barriers. The first barrier is the economic status of the learner. The second barrier is gender, and the third barrier is disabilities. So I'm going to be talking about inclusion on these three areas. The first one has to do with economic status of learners. The second one that has to do with gender, and the third one that has to do with disabilities. Now, dimensional poverty survey index revealed that 63% of persons living in Nigeria are multidimensionally poor. Multidimensionally poor. 63% of persons living in Nigeria are multidimensionally poor. Now, what does that mean? It means that more than half of Nigerians are poor. Now, if this set of persons are struggling to provide their basic amenities, their basic necessities of life, then how can education be affordable to them? So we now have many out of school children because they cannot be able to afford education. Then we can now hear that, okay, government is trying. Yes, the government of different states, they're all trying. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to ensure that the learners themselves, they have access to education, although there is need for proper funding, which is still a challenge. Because this inclusive education we're talking about, the public child may not be able to access it because it entails a lot. So the child in the public school may not be able to get a full grasp of this inclusive education that we're talking about, because there's need to integrate technology into learning, of which without proper funding, education technology cannot be implemented into learning. Someone asked me some time ago that she would like to teach my learners here some stuffs on she wanted to teach them baking and the rest online, and I have been holding back. So one day I had to tell her, I said, Ma, the reason why I've been holding back is that I only have my phone. My phone can only serve maybe one or two students
at a time.
So how do I gather, maybe if I see 20 students now that want to learn, how do we gather them and teach them this particular thing with phone? It's not going to be easy at all. So because of that now, that particular aspect has been shortchanged. The value these learners will have gotten in learning culinary skills that has to do with baking and all this stuff, it's about going the drain because of why? Lack of technology, proper technology. If we had projectors now, we could have 20 students in class connected. to the internet.
Yes.
And you have them learning and they practice and life goes on, everything goes fine. So that is all we're talking about, the aspect of funding, whereby government need to increase funding on that. But again, now pikin, permit this English, now pikin, we don't chop, go school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So if you are looking for education, you need something in your stomach, because if there's no food in your stomach, how can your brain retain information? And if you don't know what to eat the next moment, why are you sitting in the classroom?
Mm.
So most students now, instead of being in the class, they would rather be on the street hawking. Instead of being in the classroom, they would rather be in the farm. I'm in a village, so I've been privileged. Some students will tell you, okay, so and so day, which is market day, they will not come to school. Why? Because on market day, they go to markets to help their mother to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see some of them that will tell you that, okay, this is farming season. So they needed money, so they had to go to farm to go and get cassava, then make gari. So this student now will be out of school for 1 week, making gari to sell, so they can have money to do one or two things. So it is someone that has a lot, like you have what to eat the next day, and you can think of sitting in the classroom, because that time you are sitting in the classroom, you can use it to safeguard or get something to eat that will help your life. So that is another challenge in that particular aspect. So there is a need, if the average Nigerian has a better life, maybe education can be considered. But if the better life is not there, then everyone will be struggling for survival, because at the end of the day, survival is better than education. It's only the living that can go to school.
You can go to school, yes.
Yes, only the living. So now, the little ways to tackle it, as I've said, government can provide more funding as much as possible. Again, government can try to see how they can enhance the life of an average child. There was a time they started the Feed the Child program in school, that were feeding students in school, but it didn't last long. We saw some pictures. I wouldn't want to talk about that, but we saw some pictures, but it didn't last long.
The school feeding program.
Yes, if the school feeding program had continued, then maybe those that would have been hustling to get food to eat somewhere might come to sit down in class. If not because of book, at least because they will eat food. So it's fine. It's fine. So if all these are available, I think that particular aspect of inclusion can be gotten. The average child should have a better life. And not only that, education should be properly funded and made interesting. And me, myself, as a person, as an individual, what I try to do as a teacher, I try to make education interesting. That's all I try to do. My sole aim and responsibility is to make sure that my learners are interested. Because I found out that sometimes the problem of a learner is not the inability of the teacher to teach. The problem of the learner is lack of interest.
Yeah.
Yes, lack of interest. So if I can arouse their interest, then they will be willing to learn. So I labor more in arousing their interest. I labor more in arousing their interest. Then after I've done that, you have already gotten the ball rolling. Then you set it up, then learning goes up and things go fine. So that's that. Then on the aspect of gender, education is critical to empowering the young girl's child. And I notice at this gender aspect, it has to be with the girl child. The girl child it's really concerned about them, because in some areas you find out that the girl child should be married off as early as possible. So the girl child goes to become the fourth wife of another person at the age of 12, the seventh wife at the age of 10.
As you said, that is so similar to, a story that I just heard last week. Like just last week, they were trying to know how they could help. I think she was that age as well. She's in school. She's like the brightest student there. And then is in an EP camp. She's like the brightest student there. And then they're trying to take her to marry another man to be the fourth wife too. So you can see how it affects the girl child.
Yes. So instead of us to have this child over here and the rest, then you have her. Some people say, okay, if you leave them, they go wayward. And if they go wayward, they might not make heaven. So because of that, before they know anything, you just give them out so that they can marry, then your eternity can be secured. All those are theories that some persons hold. Those are customs and belief, cultures that affect, and it goes a long way affecting the girl child, and some norms that we have. They say, okay, I know you are a woman, and since you are the woman, you are the one to take care of the house and all those things. So the guys can go to school while you stay at home to take care of the house. So that is another challenge again. Some beliefs that are not really very, very solid. Some beliefs. So it deprives the girl child. And to promote equal access to education, you can tackle the following barriers. The barrier on this aspect has to do with, number one, poverty. Number two, cultural and gender bias and inadequate funding. So if the government can be able to address poverty a little bit, then I think most girls will not be married off, because sometimes I have 5 girls. If I marry off 3, I know that I will not have much persons to cater for again.
Oh.
Yes, and they can go there, and maybe through the marriage, I can get money again from the husband and from that. So
Right,
it's like I'm telling her for money, yeah, from the dowry and the rest and all those stuff. So if poverty is attacked, I think there could be it can die down a little. And there's cultural agenda bias. That is the little thoughts and culture of some persons and the rest, that if it is addressed, everything can go well. Then government has to partner with local communities, because you can't do it on your own. So every community, there are local chiefs and the rest, you can partner with them. So with their help, there can be proper sensitization. And not only proper sensitization, you can see how proofs can be done. Even on e-learning programs can be done to see how these girls are properly attended to in whatever community that they are. And they can be re-indoctrinated, let me use that word, to understanding that the girl child is not just a tool. It's not just a tool or a tool to be used. No. The girl child is special. The girl child is wonderful. The girl child is unique. The girl child deserves chance like the male child in those areas whereby they have issues and challenge with this particular gender. So that's the aspect of trying to see how this inclusion can be gotten in the aspect of the girl child, which is gender-based. So just partnering with local communities and everything flows down. Then the third one is disability. So I'll have to dwell a little bit over here on disabilities. Now, educators need to realize or recognize the fact that children with disabilities have equal capacities to learn and perform optimally as their age mates, which are without limitations. This realization must be known. It must be known that every child is unique, irrespective of their disability. In every disability, there is an ability. So even if the child could have whatever, whether a physical or a special need or whatever and the rest, that child is unique. So that child should be given an opportunity, equal opportunity with other children, so they can be able to bring out that thing that is within them. They can unfold themselves towards many possibilities. And in inclusion, okay, all these children, they should be included in activities like excursion. They should be included in academic debates, included in governments, like in the student government, in sport, and in everything. Like when we were, they were giving us employment over here in Delta State. They also employed, I think I saw a guy that was on wheelchair, a teacher on wheelchair, and it's applaudable that there is inclusion, that not only those that can walk can be teachers. Some persons can be on the wheelchair and they are also teachers. Yes, that's inclusion. So the same way again, if that guy has been excluded because of his challenge, he won't get to this point whereby he can now have a job with the government, the state government, as a teacher. So there are capabilities in everyone. In every disadvantage, you have an advantage. So we must learn to include them. And this inclusion now, because I will be talking a little bit, I'll be talking a little bit about this stuff. Because why growing up, school for the deaf, you see school for the blind. I don't know if you've heard of such.
I have.
Yes. You now see school for those with special needs. Now, inclusion is a bit not in support of such kind of school. A student that is a deaf student and someone that cannot see and someone that cannot walk and someone that is autistic, someone that has dyslexia, all of us can come to the same school.
And learn.
We can come and learn together because there are many advantages in us bring to those students, many of them. So this is the kind of example that I want to bring forth in this inclusion now. Now, you have a classroom where you have student A. Student A is a wheelchair user. So that student now can be on the wheelchair, but he's very good in public speaking. And you see that student in a wheelchair representing the school for debate. He could be on the wheelchair, but that does not stop his mouth from talking.
Exactly.
Inclusion. And that same school again, you have another student B, that has dyslexia. And that student with dyslexia is in the same classroom with other students, and they are all reading together from book. This is our book. We are all reading together. That's inclusion. Not having to go to a special school where they teach him how to read because he cannot recognize some particular alphabets. Again, you now see another student C in the same classroom. The student C is deaf. So the student C has to use sign languages to communicate. All of them learning together, having equal opportunities, having equal privilege like others. That is inclusion.
Yeah.
That is inclusion. And now there are different ways of implementing this inclusion. And that's why I called it the strategies of inclusion. There are different ways of implementing this inclusion that has to do with disability. There are different ways. We have the full inclusion, we have the partial inclusion, and we now have the mainstream school. The full inclusion, the partial inclusion, and the mainstream school. Now, in the full inclusion now, you have both, is a model whereby you have all students of different special conditions with normal students stay in the same class, learning together. But just that learning will be personalized. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes. And in this kind of situation, it might not be for a large set of students or a large class size. And that's why I said we in the local side or we in the village side, inclusion is a little bit far away from us in terms of the disabilities. Because class whereby you have students. Some teachers have classes whereby they have 100 and something students in one class. So how do you want to do inclusion for everybody? So because this kind of inclusion might not be very, very possible because you have learners ranging from 100 in some classrooms, just one class, 100 students in some classes, 50. So you might not be able to achieve this kind of inclusion because each learner has to have attention, has to be given to their individual needs. So you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes. So that's in the full system. Everybody in the same class, everybody with the abilities, but the teacher devises different ways, which I'm going to talk about in the implementation of this inclusion, different ways to attend to their challenges. Then from there, the partial inclusion. Now, in this model of inclusion now, what they do here is that we are going to be together from the morning to a particular time. Then when you get to a particular time, then you now separate some of the learners with special learning challenges. So these learners can go to learn on their own. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, some additional support given could also be disruptive if carried out in the main classroom. So there's some support that you want to do because of the distractions in the main classroom. It might not be very, very effective. So now you can have to take these learners to one side. Let's say for example, like text them like speech-based lessons. Speech-based lessons, for example, partial inclusion is more flexible and always allows classroom separation when it will be more beneficial for us. So when you have some particular kind of thing that some of these special learners to learn, you can now separate them. That is the partial inclusion. You separate them so they go and learn that one, especially without distraction.
Yeah.
without distraction. So they learn it. Then when they finish learning, then the next day everybody come together. Everybody come together. So I'll be telling us the need for everyone to come together. The reason why it's necessary for both those that are challenged physically, those that are challenged with different kind of disabilities, and those that are normal. The need for all of them to be in the same classroom. I'll be telling us very soon. Then the last one is the mainstreaming. Let's take, for example, in this mainstreaming, you have a blind student.
Okay.
And this blind student is growing.
Yeah.
The blind student need to learn how to read with their hands.
Yeah.
Yes. And that one might take a special kind of, they need special attention for that.
Yes.
You got what I'm saying? Yeah. Sorry, I'm closing my eye because I'm trying to imagine that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a need for special class. So sometimes what happens now, okay, you put them through this mainstream. That means this class is going to be specially for just them individually. So they learn at their pace to do the basic things together. Then when they are now confident about that basic thing that they can do now, you can now start integrating them to the main school where everybody, you find everyone. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there's some individual skills they need to learn. So they need to learn that skill on their own. If you put them with the crowd, they might not be able to learn because they might need special tutors for that. Then after you can read now with your hands and all those stuff, you can integrate that same person into the normal class. So in normal class, whatever activity that the person is giving is going to be individualized based on the needs that learner has.
Yes.
So I will not bring a normal reading paper or their own kind of assignment to him. Then he can be able to attempt it while others are doing theirs, while they are all in the same class. But first of all, the person will be segregated, to be confident before now introduce the person into the main class. So these are the kind of inclusion. The first one is the
full inclusion.
The full inclusion. The second is the partial inclusion, and this is the third one, which is the what? The mainstream or the mainstreaming. Is the importance of inclusion. What do we stand to gain? I've been talking about the importance. What do we stand to gain? Now, inclusion will help to build the confidence of students.
Yeah.
Now, the traditional method of dealing with students with disabilities or learning can be very, very harmful. Where you pack them, it's okay. All these ones they cannot see. You keep them school of deaf, special need. This ones are autistic, special needs, and the rest. It's very, very. It affects their self-esteem. They will find it very hard to integrate with the society. Why? Because at the beginning of my life, you already separated me from the crowd. Told me that special, I'm to be here. So when you want to introduce me now, I'll have issues with my self-esteem because I'm now seeing myself strange, like the odd one out amongst. So those learners will battle self-esteem, issues with self-esteem. They'll battle serious issues. From the beginning, they've been secluded, and that seclusion has affecting a child. The disability now becomes glaring in the eye of the child. That I'm not like others. So I am not good. Those are the things they start thinking about. I say when such is done, the self-esteem of the child, and it is very easy to destroy.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to build. So what has been destroyed, it will be very, very hard to build it back. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
Yes. So studies have shown that students with learning disabilities have lower self-esteem than those without. So we need to be careful and try to combat this. Be careful. So you as a teacher in the classroom of students that have different diseases, be careful. Don't call out that child by that disability. Don't call out that child because it will go a long way hurting that child and making that child to feel that they are less special. They'll see themselves less compared to others, and it will affect them. They may never open up again. And that's how they keep dying. So that is how it is. Then the next thing again, it improves their communication skills. So when you are in the midst of people that can speak, you are autistic, you can't talk, but you're in the midst of people that can speak. Once in a while, you might want to learn how to just say something. You can't properly feel, or you can't properly react the way others are reacting. But once you're in the midst of people, sometimes they might playfully come to you. Then when I was growing, I had a friend, Obiora. I go to his house. We went to the same secondary school. So whenever I go to their house, there's this guy in that area that is deaf and dumb. So now no sign language without going to a language school for signs. Why? Because that guy that was the deaf and their friend. So the guy will now teach them how to communicate in his language. So now that guy now, all of them now could flow and blend together. And they them, and he understands what they are saying.
Yeah.
And he does sign when he wants to communicate with them, and they understand. So he has this feeling of belonging that, yes, these are my guys. In as much as he cannot speak and he cannot hear, of belonging. Because why? He was not secluded. He was able to blend with his friends. But if he was secluded, when he comes out, the world will have been a strange place to him. Very, very strange place to him. He may not be able to cope. Because why? He has gone far away from people and the rest. But in blending with them, he sees himself like them. They don't abuse him. He does not, because they find themselves, okay, well, these are friends, but only that he cannot speak, he cannot hear. They can communicate things, but they themselves want to communicate with him, give them sign, and they give him sign. Fine. I was very, very impressed. And that's how it is inclusion. That was inclusion. He was included into society, he blended with society, and now the society does not look terrorizing to him.
You got what I'm saying?
A varieties of abilities. This will open up opportunities for them to strengthen their communication skills and adapt to a varied level of social interaction. Now, the next one is quality education. Quality education, as I was saying, that is going to give every child the access to quality education, because every child would be given the opportunity to have what other students without disability are enjoying. For students with disabilities, their curriculum is a little bit let's say call it streamlined. It is a little bit compressed. And now it makes them to have shallow learning of concepts and things. But now with this opportunity of integration or inclusion, they cannot be able to learn more the way others are learning. And again, the quality and the access towards quality education that others are benefiting, they themselves can benefit it too. And that's the aspect of quality education. And the last one on that particular importance is parental involvement. One major thing about inclusive education is that there's this collaboration. So students are involved, the learners are involved, the teachers are involved, appropriate authorities are involved, then the parents too. It also drives a higher commitment to the school by the parents as they become more involved in the program of the school. So now the involvement of parents will now show how committed the parents are, and also it will keep the school in check, so they can be able to do well to ensure that the learners are properly catered for. Then that's that. How can I implement inclusive education in the classroom? Now, this is to the teachers and the rest. It's going to cover many things concerning the teachers. So it's clear that an inclusive classroom can be beneficial for many students. It's crucial to give all students a fair chance to learn in the right environment for them. Let's look at some ways you can implement inclusive education in the classroom. Number one is what we call the ULD, Universal Learning Design. Universal Learning Design. Now, the core principle of the ULD involves providing learners with multiple means of engagement, representation, and presentation. Now, UDL involves three things. The first one is engagement. The second one is what? Representation. The third one is action and presentation. Now, the engagement has to do with providing an environment where the learners can be motivated and learn. So you provide a good environment with adequate resources where learners can be able to learn. That is the aspect of engagement. Then the aspect of representation. Now, this involves presenting materials to the learners in varying formats. We understand that these learners have different ability. We understand that these learners have some special needs. So, for example, you won't bring a picture and tell a blind student to identify that picture. What is on the picture? It doesn't make sense. So what you do more, you bring their normal their normal way of reading stuff with the hands. Then also you bring more of audio visuals.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get it.
Yeah.
Why in the classroom? Then you find out that some learners have issues with listening. Their attention span is low. When you are talking, they might just feel like they're looking at you, or you feel like they're looking at you, but their mind is not there. So you need to re-engage them. So those ones that cannot just have a long attention, they have other things they can be doing. Other activities. It could be audio visuals and the rest that you can be doing that will help everybody to be carried along, because if different learners have different ways or different pace at which they learn. So when you capture that and you put that into consideration, you find out that you can get the best, in as much as there are different kinds of learners with different abilities in your classroom. So, and the third one now is the action and presentation. It involves allowing learners to express their understanding in variety of ways. With action and presentation involves allowing learners express their understanding in a variety of ways, which may include a variety of assessment methods, such as exams, presentations, and assessments. So now you have provided the environment, which is engagement. You have presented them with different materials according to their ability, which is. And after that, now you want to get the feedback of learning. That is action and presentation. Now, you now want to get to know if this learner has learned what they're saying, but you don't use one particular way. You don't use one particular way. So you don't judge a fish because the fish cannot climb a tree.
Mm-hmm.
The same way a bird should not be swimming inside water. All of them have their conducive area of manifestation and habitation.
Yes.
So if you want to force a child or force a fish to climb a tree, automatically you are trying to do one of the wonders of the world, of which our normal educational system does not take into cognizance this particular stuff. So everybody will be judged in the same particular way, which is not supposed to be so, because they learn it in different ways. I don't know if you're hearing me.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So they learn in different ways. So they need to express themselves in different ways. Some of them might be good in exam. Some of them might be good in presentation. So you will tell them, okay, these things you have learned, come and present it. They will come and they present it. And the students that if you tell them come and present it, they will never be able to do that. But they can write it. So you are taking cognizance of their strengths. And you are now judging them based on their strengths and their understanding, based on how they can express themselves, not big on how you want them or you think they should. Because most of what we do in Nigeria is giving learners what they should learn and asking them what I think they should learn. No, we are supposed to be trying to get from them, what have you done? What from this you are expected to know. After you have known it, I think you should have known it, so I'll ask you about what you have known. Then we are only just going back on, like, trying to create, would I use the word robots? Garbage in, garbage out. This person have learned this thing in another unique way, so express it in another unique way, and the rest. And some of them assignments. So you don't judge. I was so surprised. Some of my students in my former school, I was privileged to teach in a school whereby the students were very, very privileged. So some of them, when they're not in Nigeria now, one of them, she's in the UK. So, and another one again, they communicated me and I was like, how is education over there in the UK? He said, uncle, it's not like people in Nigeria that you be giving us exam every time. That here we don't write exam every time. They only just give us assignments and tasks and the rest. Then at the end of the session of like your secondary session and the rest, then they will not give you your GCSE. I say, wow, that's very good. And one of them is writing her GCSE now.
Mm-hmm.
After different terms of not writing exam compared to Nigeria that we want to use the exam to kill you. You say what?
I said exam every time, every term.
Which is not supposed to be so. We need the other ways of testing. That is where you now understand that there are different kind of learners. There are other ways to test them. Presentations could come, projects will come, and those projects, presentation, the rest, they have marks. So let me go to the next one. So that is all about the UDL. That's all about UDL. So you get tax specific to a child or a learner's need. Specific. And once they've done a specific to their need, they can relate with it. They can be able to open up to express themselves. The same work you give to an autistic student is even for the same the assignment or the work, the task you give to a dyslexic student is even for the task you give to a student that is blind. It's even for the task that you give to a normal student. So it is, and even among the normal students, we have average learners, we have slow learners, we have fast learners. So the task you give to a fast learner will be different from the task you give to an average learner, different to the task you give to all of them is individual learning. Then again, there's cooperative learning. So in a great way, implementing inclusive education in the classroom is to present tasks and activities in a way that encourages cooperative learning. Will I use the word learning in groups? So I share my idea with you, you share your idea with me, they will learn together, we'll do assignment, do stuff in groups. So then when arranging group work, you may want to designate pair groups rather than giving students the opportunity to pick themselves. So if you know that these two people are friends, you try to see how you can pair the groups. Don't allow them to pick themselves. I can go and the ones that have strength will go and pick themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Then they leave the ones that are trying, the work in progress. How will those ones, how they work? So you get it. So you yourself as a teacher, you do the pairing. You do the pairing. So I know the strength of this side. I know the weakness of this side. So that this one can bring his strength, and with his strength, the other one can bring their own strength, and they join together to achieve a particular result. Not that I say, okay, go and pick. You go and pick your friend that you have the same alignment and strength and the rest. Then you will leave others.
I know I'm guilty.
And by so doing discrimination, yes, you can also discrimination to come in. And you know, in inclusive education, we are trying to fight discrimination. We are trying to fight discrimination at all costs. So then you will now say, okay, this one is dyslexic or this one is autistic, so I won't pick this one because it's autistic. I don't know how to relate with him, and the rest, I don't know how to relate with him, so because I can't work with him. So the discrimination. So you don't allow them pick, you pick the pair. Then again, teachers need to undergo specialized training in this kind of stuff. So it's not just good enough that you are a teacher or you are a teacher of students that have ability. There should be opportunities by school send teachers on training, on special education training. Special education training. Some of them, this training in such areas of trauma awareness, autism, special education needs. These areas, schools should begin to send teachers there, because at some point it won't just be about special needs students. It's inclusion. So everybody are going to be in the same class. So you should be able to handle an autistic student, even though you were not you're not a special needs teacher from the beginning. But you get this training so you can be able to understand them and manage traumas that go on, or their reactions and the rest. You'll be able to understand that their reactions. So this training should go. And sometimes, sorry, this is Nigeria. Your school might not want to train you, so you find a way to train yourself. Thank you so much. Because most schools, this is Nigeria. Schools in Nigeria here, they'll be like, if they train you, you will go to another school now to go and use the knowledge that they're giving to you. Unfortunately, that is very sad. That's very sad. I was talking to a friend of mine, or someone I met online. She's teaching in Texas. Is to attend trainings. So if you go to attend training, they will pay you ×2 per hour of what you're supposed to make. So if I'm supposed to be making $10 per hour, so because I'm going for an extra training, they're going to pay me $20 per hour for that training. Whereas in Nigeria, in Africa, the school we say is a lie. If I train you finish, you'll not go to another school. Then I'll not start training again to go to another school. I'll not start training again. And my school now become training center. But it's not like that. It's not like that, because when you train them, they themselves can be able to give you the best. You are looking for the best. So that's that. Then the next one is adapted lessons and tasks. I've spoke about this one when I'm talking about the UTL. So the lessons and tasks should be specific. A more engaging approach to learning could be very helpful to those who struggle with learning from text-based content. You can do this by incorporating more videos and pictures into lessons, involving educational games or object-based learning to increase engagement. A lot of learn through play, and this can be an encouraging way to immerse them into lessons. So you can use different ways and different formats to train them. That's what I'm talking about this one. Then marking should be diverse, because a learner puts pen on paper or does something. There should be something for that. There should be a reward for using your ink, even if you wrote nonsense. You get what I'm saying? There should be a reward for using ink, even if the learner wrote nonsense. So you can be more inclusive. The teacher could be more inclusive with marking. But okay, now I said, now, for example, the learner writes OB. Instead of writing OB is a boy, the learner wrote he was a boy. You can find out that there's OB in that sentence, there's boy in that sentence. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes,
okay,
now.
I said the last one is providing supplementary materials. Providing supplementary materials. The last one is providing supplementary materials. So additional materials should be provided based on the learner's need. Should be provided based on their need. Okay, now saying in summary of what I've been saying, I said inclusive education is education for all. Inclusive education is education for all, irrespective of your sex, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your origin, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your color, irrespective of your abilities and disabilities. Having everybody learning in the same classroom, irrespective of those factors, that's inclusive education. And we saw inclusive education as it borders on the barriers. And we saw the first barrier was the barrier that's to do with the economic status of students or learners. We saw the barriers to do with gender. Then we now saw the disability-based barrier. And from there, we also talked about the different strategies, the full inclusive, the partial inclusive, and the mainstream. Then from there, we saw the importance of inclusion, and now we are seeing how to implement inclusion education in the classroom. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It has been a very wonderful session, a lot to learn. So you really broke it down. You did justice to the topic. You know, I can really see that you are truly teacher Chike. The way you broke it down, it was like I was in a class, you know, jotting, I was understanding everything, the examples, everything, you know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again. And any question I had, you've answered it. You've answered it, but the only thing I would like to ask is if you've had any personal experience dealing with a child that maybe has a physical disability or a learning disability, and how was the experience for you? What were the challenges? How were you able to overcome it?
Okay, now I'll start with physical ability. In the previous class, I was handling my SS1 genius in the school where I came from. So I have this student that had issues with his leg, so he cannot walk properly. So at some point, I was like, in my mind, I was like, why do you have to bring him here? Their class is upstairs. He has to go up. And it's not very easy. But later on, I said, well, let's keep flowing. And we kept flowing. And I found out that the integration with other students gives him life, gives him hope. Now, his walking got worsened. The problem with his walking got worsened. He was even a boarding student. But the problem with his walking got worsened when they went home for lockdown. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. When they went home for lockdown, that lockdown period, he could not come back to school again because he could not walk. So they had to go and do operation. This was someone that was in the boarding house before the lockdown. But because he was not with like you are not with your friends, you are not in school whereby you are doing things for yourself and the rest. When they by the coming of lockdown, he could not walk. He had to stay one section at home doing physiotherapy. This was someone that was working before while he was integrated into the normal society. But now he went home for lockdown for the amount of months that he stayed at home. Now he was always on one spot. He almost lost the limbs. So he had to now bringing him back again was another form of encouragement. There's something about him. He does not like you to help him. So he will come down from that steps by himself. He will hold the rail and be doing small. The way he's seeing others walk, it gives him the move and the drive to also want to walk. And then I get to understand that sometimes when others are doing, I give a task and others are ahead and he's not ahead, I understand that, yes, the challenge might be because of his inability. But if I do some stuff in the class and I see him laugh, I'm always happy because he laughed. And to me, that is the highlight of my class, that I made Adams to laugh. Because he was always bottled up because of this segregation. Others might look at him and this one cannot work. But in the midst of the people, at least he will be gaining more motivation to want to do things for himself compared to when they kept him at home and he almost lost his leg. So that's the one aspect of inclusion. Then I also have had learners pass through my classroom with some little disabilities that others may not be able to understand. Yeah. And one thing I've done is that I always tell you, I give you an assurance as my students. Then I tell them, I said, as long as you are in my class, you cannot fail. That is the assurance I give them. And I said, even if you have decided to fail yourself, you cannot fail. I said, even if they swore for you, they said in your family line, education will not work for you. You will not fail. You cannot fail. Now, all those assurances built the confidence of some of them that lacked abilities in some subjects and the rest. Yes. So you say student that people think that she's gone. Yes. Someone will fail English and everything, but yet biology that you dropped from SS1, then you are not doing it again in SS3. Then you now, I don't know how you registered it in WAEC. That one is a miracle on its own. You registered it in NECO, it's a miracle because you didn't do it in SS2. Now you are not doing SS3. Then at the end of the day, after much of the effort, they only told me you're doing it for NECO, and I knew after WAEC. So I had to start being little brush up and the rest. And that person got a D7. Others don't feel. That one is not a problem. That don't feel. So others don't feel. So we don't need to argue. Others don't, no matter how it is, don't feel. I only had one person that got D7 in WAEC in all my 4 years. Only one person. And in my school, there is 0 tolerance for examination of malpractice. So you don't do malpractice and the rest. So now this other person is a special child. With all those things, still got a D7. That was the highlight of that examination for me. And like, yeah. We started learning after WAEC. After WAEC, that's when we started learning. And the person still got D7. Better than other subject that she was doing from SS1 to SS3. So the major thing is just giving them special attention. So sometimes I might call you individually to, okay, what's your problem? Tell me. Just tell me the problem. Tell me the topics that you have issues with. So when they tell me the topic, they will now come individualized learning to see how I can break it, because maybe the way I'm saying it in class is not making sense to you. So I'll now have to try to see how I can do it in a special way. And as much as possible, there's no child that they've come to say, okay, Chike, I don't understand, or their parents call me to say they don't understand. I'll tell you, pay me for extra lesson. I don't do that. Because I feel it's my responsibility to teach you to know. So if you don't know it, I will not charge you because you don't know what I could not do in the classroom.
Yeah.
Rather, I will teach you as long as I have time. I will do it to the best of my ability because I feel it's my responsibility to make you know. So if I taught you in the class you don't know, when we come outside the class, I will teach you again.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the extra stuff. So, but this time, it's at an individualized level, whereby it's me and you. So we are not having issues. I can now explain with the things that you may understand with. We cannot get you hands-on to some stuff to get you to understand, irrespective of whatever it is, so that maybe when you're in the class, because of the class size, you're not able to express yourself. So now it's one-on-one. You're able to express, and success always come out. So that's that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I particularly love the story about the boy because it really just shows, it's just the perfect example to just sum up everything that we've said, inclusive education, and how much you can do for the child. And I really wish that more teachers, because I can even remember when I was in school, and then sometimes it's like you don't understand something, and then they are beating you because you don't understand something. So
I never do that. I never.
really affect, because if I tell you I don't understand, you beat me today, I won't come back tomorrow. I would rather just any grade I can manage to just pass with. So it's been a very wonderful session. And my major takeout here is what you said on the strategies, the full inclusion. Because I thought personally before now, I thought that it was actually a good idea, to have like school for the blind, school for the deaf, because I thought that, okay, they can relate, they can see people that have the same challenges, that will understand. But it just makes so much sense when you explained it, that it can actually kill their confidence. And that for me is just, it really blew my mind, because it's like, the actual child, it doesn't really benefit them. And I wish that more people can talk about this, more people can learn about this, because there's so much, it's such a broad topic, and there's so much, there are so many ways. Because even as we were speaking, I also saw certain cases where me personally, I don't have any learning disability or physical disability, but I saw how my own education was not necessarily inclusive to fit me, it was not really personalized. And it's also what we are trying to do at Learnxplore. We try to provide inclusive education. What we actually try to do is to provide affordable and accessible education to children. So we are trying to break the barriers. Like we are trying to reach the children that are usually overlooked, rural areas, or like the schools that have no form of technology yet. So we currently have some partner schools, and then we give them, we know that they don't have these technological facilities, and we try to look at their needs, and then we try to give them, like, we try to suit our solutions to them, to each school. So I think a lot of people, a lot of educational technologies, companies, the government, everyone, I feel like this is a conversation that should be ongoing, because it affects like the children. It affects the children, which are the future of the country. So I think so far this has really been broken down. The topic has really been broken down here, and I pray that it reaches a large audience, and they understand, just as we have understood better, the concept of inclusive education. So once again, I just want to really, really thank you so much for your time. Thank you for honoring our invite. We are so grateful, and it's been such an information-full session. We are so grateful.
Thank you so much.
Enjoyed your time as well with us.
I enjoyed my time. Thank you so much.
Network issues.
It's Nigeria. Thank God for Nigeria.
Thank God for Nigeria. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right.
Well, have a lovely evening. Goodbye.
And you too.
Bye.
And you too. Thank you. Yeah, bye.